Okay, so what I just explained to my class, what I'm going to demonstrate here is on our front end, we just made this book editor on our front end. And on our book editor, this is our book editor component. I logged in as a user with permissions to edit a book. Therefore, they'll have that ability. However, in our back end, if you remember, in our back end, I'll show the database. Right now, in this particular application, I've got three roles: developer, QA, and customer.
Could you share your screen?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Notice that only the QA has the ability to update the book. So unless you have the role of QA, you shouldn't see, and this is just the current set of permissions, you shouldn't see the ability to click that button to update a book, right? So notice right now QA can update a book. No one else can update a book. For whatever reason, QA can update a book. Okay? And it's kind of demonstratable here. If I log in as my user, now I have a user T Williams, and T Williams, if I look at T Williams, she only is a customer. Okay, so obviously she is not a QA. Okay, so T Williams should not see the button to update a book. However, myself, E.A. Gudmested, I am a QA, right? So I should see the button. So to kind of go back to my back end, I have this middleware that says, hey, you have permission to update a book. Here you have to have that permission. So if I go in and I log in as myself, in Postman, just to demonstrate this working without React. So I'm logged in as my user. I can go to list all my books. There's my DaVinci Code. And I can go to update my book by my ID and give it a new price of $10. And it says book updated. And if I go back, my price of $13.11 is dropped down to $10. So my user is a QA, therefore I can update the book. If I log in as a different user, T Williams at rankin.edu, T Williams is logged in. T Williams, a customer can list books, right? But if I go to update that same book to $101, we get you do not have these permissions, can update book. Okay, so where to start with this? In our backend, if we remember, when a user logs in, we have these functions that basically create this auth token. We put the auth token into a cookie. We send the cookie to the front end. This cookie is an HTTP only cookie, meaning it's a server-side cookie. A server-side cookie is created to establish a session between the client and the server so that they can remember one another. Okay, so making this a server-side cookie is just like, hey, I remember you and I know the permissions that you have, okay, but this is not a cookie that should be readable by the client. Our front end doesn't know what permissions this user has because frankly, that's encrypted inside of our payload. Okay, so really all that we can do is send the roles to our front end that our user has. So if I go to my login route and I kind of just take a look at what's going in with my login route, notice I am sending some JSON back with a message, some sort of auth token. Again, that token has the permissions in it, but it's encrypted, can't really access the auth token because it's encrypted. What about email role? Well, let's go ahead and add role and send the roles array. Remember role, the result user.role, this should be an array of roles. Okay, now if I go to log back in Postman, and I kind of click that, now I see the role of customer. So I'm sending the role property over to my front end now. Okay, now when my front end logs in, and I go to my login form, we need to Well, we need to store that data. And what I don't like here necessarily is that I'm just storing my full name. And this is going to break my nav bar if I do this. But if I just set my user, what do I want to do here? So I don't have like an auth user. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just kind of back up here. I'll make a variable called user, and I'll send my set user function down to my login. Okay, and I know several of you already did something like this with a, variable called auth instead of user. So here's a function called set user, and when we log the user in, let's go ahead and set the user. So we see receive set full name, but easier we could just have set the user. And again, in my backend, I don't even think I send the full. How about this? User roles. I'll just make a hook called user roles. Sorry, as I'm refactoring this, but let me go back up to app. Just like we have a full name property, this is, again, I should have just done a whole user from the get-go, but user role, set user role, and I'll pass down set user role, receive, set user role, to response.data.role. Okay, that's a roles array, right? Okay, so if they log in, we have this hook now at this level that's been set here. And again, what would be best, instead of having separate hooks here for the properties, you just have one hook for the user. But I've already gone down the wrong path, so I'm going, just going to continue in that direction. Okay, so the user role can be set, and then on book editor, I'm going to pass down user role. User role equals user role. Again, this is an array of roles. And I'm going to receive user role over here. Show toast, comma, user role. Okay, and so now in book editor, this should be an array. So we're going to use an includes, right? So MDN includes JavaScript. Right? So we can say array.includes said value. So on my edit button, nope, that's actually, I need it in the, I sent it to book editor. I don't need it in book editor. I need to show the button in book list. So let me go back. I don't need that there. I need it in book list. User role equals user role, book list, user role, okay, so now we have user role here, and Third time's a charm. The button is here. And okay, to get it there, I need to pass it down to yeah, that's actually right. I need to send it down to user. Send it down to the book list, and from the book list, I send it down to the book item. That's what I need to do. User role equals user role. So I had to send it down 2 levels because ultimately the book item is where the link is. So we receive user role here. Sorry for the spaghetti. User role dot includes quality analyst, all lowercase. And then you see the link. And I think I got an extra curly. Okay. Okay. These errors are intended. So if the user role includes quality analyst, then you see the link. Okay, and I had some spaghetti going on there, but the general idea is when the user logs in, we set that data that we send from our back end in this user role hook. And then we have to send user role down into the book item so that based on if that user role includes a certain value, then you see the button to update it. Otherwise, if it doesn't, then you simply don't. Okay, so as always, let's see what breaks. And I'm going to start off by clearing my cookies and logging myself out. And so manually I'm going to delete these 2 things in local storage and my cookie. Okay, so the first thing will be T. Williams at rankin.edu. Okay, she doesn't like my password, which is okay. And right off the top, you could see T. Williams does not see the update button because she doesn't have permissions, right? So if I go ahead and log out and log back in, well, that's a bug. Let me reboot. Okay, not sure what's happening on that particular one, but bug for another day. If I submit now, since I do have that role, I do see the edit button. Click the button and there you go. So I think, you know, just in theory, the idea is that we have these permissions on the back end, and that's doing data validation on the back end, but we can't use those same permissions on the front end because they're encrypted and they're not meant to be sent to the front end when it's a server-side cookie.